You're listening to Head Voice, bringing you inside the minds of singers and sound creators who are redefining what it means to make music with the voice. I'm Kayla.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Evan, and we are 4 episodes into Season 2, and if you haven't already heard, our good friend Anthony Polito has joined the team. You can expect to see him host some episodes in the future, including this one, where he talked with Kayla to Lauren and Hansel from Ember.
Ember is coming off a stellar performance at the ACA Open Finals with a single coming out October 5th, but with a special debut right here on the podcast. For those of you that just want to listen to the song, we'll put a timestamp in the show notes.
We also chatted about their bigger picture goals as a group and their new management with Andrew Kim of AJK Artist Management. Shout out to Andrew, who's probably listening to this while walking his dog right now. And without further ado, please enjoy our episode with Ember.
Stuff too.
Very cool. All right, well, we're rolling, we're going with it, and we're here with Hansel and Lauren from Ember, so thank you both for joining us today. We're very happy to have you.
Stoked to be here.
Yeah. So we just want to kind of start with like a little background with you both. So where are you from and where did you grow up?
Well, I'm actually from Baltimore, Maryland, where Ember is based.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the Peabody Institute at Johns Hopkins University.
Very
I actually study voice there.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's how I met Lisa, through Peabody.
And Hansel?
I'm from a small town in New Jersey called Scotch Plains before this, and then I moved out to Baltimore to go to school at Hopkins for a couple of years, and now I'm living here in Baltimore still because it's a great city, and all my friends and favorite musicians are here so far, so may as well stick around for a bit.
Very cool.
Yeah. How did you both get into a cappella?
Ooh.
Well, I thought acapella was kind of corny and cheesy.
I think we all did at some point.
As we all do.
And there's this thing that happens at Hopkins called Osho. And it's basically all the a cappella groups on campus gather together and they perform a big showcase. And then afterwards, they go into a pavilion and try to gather all the students and try to get people to sign up for their a cappella groups. And originally, I wasn't going to go because I was like, oh, no, that's lame. I don't need to do that. But then my friends were like, come on, it's going to be fun. And they dragged me and convinced me to go. And I'm so glad that I did because I ended up joining a group called the JHU Vocal Cords.
Mm-hmm.
Forever a vocal cord. And Lisa was the music director of that group. And that's also how I met Lisa, through that group. And she and I became very good friends. And then when she branched off to create her own professional group, she said to me and a couple other people, she was like, Lauren, I really want to create a professional group and this is a dream of mine. And would you be willing to come along with me? And I said, hell yes. So yeah. That's kind of where the journey with a cappella has brought me thus far.
So when was that? When did Ember officially start?
December 2017.
Correct.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, very cool. And you kind of were talking about it a little bit, but what was like the initial idea behind the group and goal, I guess?
Well, like I said, Lisa was the music director for the JHU Vocal Cords. Mm-hmm. And we competed and we came actually in third place in our ICCA quarterfinals. And that kind of just sparked a fire under her to want to do more with a cappella and really create an a cappella group based in Baltimore because there are not a lot of a cappella groups or like vocal music groups in this community. Yeah. So that was one of her driving goals. And she also knew that I wanted to pursue music professionally. I mean, that's what I'm studying. So that was also a driving factor for me to want to join a professional group, to help realize my dream of becoming a professional performer as well.
Mm-hmm. And Hansel, when did you kind of join the group and add to the bigger picture?
So when Lisa first came up with this idea, it was like probably November or October or something. Uh-huh. And it was pretty much what Lauren said. She was like riding the success of the vocal cords the year before and was like, well, clearly something's going right, so maybe I should try to actually, do something that is my own musical brainchild of sorts. Mm-hmm. And, she talked to me about it, and didn't really ask me to help, actually. Let me rephrase that. She just kind of talked to me about it at first, and then I was like, well, when you put it that way, and I was like, how like could I help? Could I come on board? Let's do this. Like, why not? And we both kind of got simultaneously excited about it, so we planned together, and that kind of went from there up until we actually had the members and started up and did things.
Yeah. And you've been doing a lot of things, which I think is a good point to talk about the song that you're releasing, Bad Romantic. I'm kind of curious about the inspiration. Hansel, I believe you wrote it. I'm curious where the idea came from.
Sure. So kind of similarly to that story, some of the things, or one of the things I should say, that Lisa and I both kind of had our eye on was if we were going to compete, we thought it would be really cool just in general to do original music at the competition.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't something that we've seen a lot, like around the a cappella competitive circuit, not just the ICCA. This was before we were like, oh yeah, let's do the Open, whatever. And then it came time to like think about doing the Open and everything. And we were like, well, our cover repertoire is cool, but like, what if we just wrote the songs instead? We already have one. At that point, we'd already been rehearsing Eric's song, Stars of Bethlehem.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just like, yeah, we may as well just hit it with two more and see where we go from there. And that was pretty much the inspiration for doing the song, at least.
And how about for writing it?
For writing it, like, do you mean like musically, or like what the impetus was? What's up?
Where did you get the lyrical inspiration for this song?
It's a lot of people ask this question. It's very funny because I give them the same answer. It's kind of, the lyrics always come last for me, and this time was no exception. And I wrote the melodies, the lead vocal melodies, at some points in the song first, others at some point other in the words, in the writing or the coming up with it.
Yeah.
But the lyrics themselves don't really have too much internal meaning per se. I wrote the melodies kind of using math, melody math, so to speak. That's something that like Max Martin and all those Swedish writers that can't do a lot of. So I was like, let me try it. And once the melodies were there, I just kind of filled in the blanks with syllables and gibberish until it was something that made sense. I kind of felt a vibe. I knew I was writing the song for Lauren, so I kind of felt a need to come up with more hip or like, I don't know, just lyrics that didn't suck, I guess, or that were about like something that people could relate to and that I knew that Lauren could deliver.
Yeah.
And so once I landed on the concept of, you know, nighttime, out doing something, dressed to the nine, whatever it is, like
Right.
I just kind of rolled with it, and whatever words made sense and filled in the blanks right, went with it.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned that like melodies came first and you're kind of using this, I guess, mathematical approach, which is very cool. Was there like a certain inspiration that you were initially going for when you were writing the song in terms of like style and just like melodic ideas?
Yeah. So I also kind of knew that I wanted to write the opener for the set,
Yeah.
or the closer. I wasn't sure which at the time.
Yeah.
So either way, I kind of wanted something that was fun to listen to, that the audience could connect with and have a good time with us on, no matter if we put it at the beginning or the end. And yeah, that was really it.
It's interesting that you're like, when you were first creating it, it was made for a certain part of a set, but also like on the genre side, were you like,
Oh, true.
I want this song to be like a pop song. I want this song to be like more Princey. I want this song to be more like Charlie Puothy. Was there like a certain vision you had in mind when you were trying to create it?
Yeah, got you. I knew I wanted to write a pop song. That's for sure. That was the goal
Check.
from the start. But what kind of sound or what subgenre, I didn't really know.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened to come across with the things that I was really listening to a lot of at the time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Which always seems to happen,
Right.
as you probably know. Yeah, so I just went with, I'm going to write something with a banging hook or something that the audience can enjoy. And I ended up writing the bass line first, and I was like, oh, so this is going to be that kind of pop song. So we just kind of went from there and built elements along the way.
I'm actually curious what are your specific inspirations, because to me, like, I don't want to say who they are because I don't want to sway your answer, but I'm just curious, like, who are your specific inspirations that you were listening to at the time? Because
A lot of Janet Jackson.
Okay.
Like a lot of Janet Jackson. There was a song before this that I demoed out and sent to the group, and we weren't super crazy about, but that was also very, very heavily inspired by like pretty much
Yeah.
a Janet Jackson song. I think it was like All For You, but just written for a cappella maybe. I'm not really sure. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of her for the beginning part, and then when I was wrapping the song up, I was listening to a lot of Bruno Mars again, because I was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna write the latter third of this song.
Right.
Oh God. So I threw on 24K Magic and was just like, let me go through the chronology of soul music really quickly. And it really actually helped, because as soon as I finished, I kind of went, took a shower, came out, and was like, all right, I think I know what we're gonna do here.
I know that you're also like an instrumentalist. I'm wondering like if in that writing process, were you just writing it from the beginning as a cappella? Like how were you like writing it in the process?
So yeah, the whole time I did know it was going to be an a cappella song, but I did write that bass line on bass first, and I like just did that for a while and jammed around until I found some lines that I liked. But I also very quickly realized once I started to try to build the song that my chops on bass are really, really, really rusty. So I just kind of pulled up the microphone and was like, I could probably doom this better than I can play it. So I doomed away, you know. Yeah, it was bass line first on bass, and then I used real drums programmed to do the rhythmic stuff, because I didn't want to actually record myself beatboxing. It's kind of sad now, knowing that Michael is going to come in and completely blow it out of the water. So I just went ahead and threw in some real drums, and went from there.
So did you you mentioned that lyrics generally come last. Did you kind of arrange the full picture before any lyrics came in terms of like background parts and like all of the vocals? Or was that kind of at the end?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that by the time we were writing, so the melodies themselves were gibberished out for a long time while the rest of the elements came up. But the lyrics and a couple of the thematic parts, like the thematic melodies, came in after everything else was already in there. The chorus was written melody first, like lead first, and the other parts were kind of written the other way around.
It's very different to like write a song that isn't for yourself. Lauren, like how was that process for you? Like how did you take this song on as your own?
Normally how I do that, like with any song that I do, whether it be an original piece or whether it's something that we're doing a cover of, I generally try to listen to the lyrics and like really get the vibe of the song itself as a whole, including the music, and try to create a character for that song and become the character when I'm performing it live or when I'm recording it.
So when you are singing this particular song, I know Hansel mentioned the lyrics weren't necessarily the driving force. They were kind of more an afterthought to match the tone of the song. When you're singing these lyrics, are you envisioning like a certain memory, or how do you get yourself into the character when you're performing it?
It kind of, like Hansel said, it's kind of like a night kind of sort of vibe.
Yeah.
So I kind of sort of imagine myself as this like really cool, chill, very laid back person, but still someone that everyone wants to be and wants to know and wants to be with.
Right.
And I imagine this person just like walking into a club or like a bar or any kind of like social setting and like attracting attention immediately, and everyone looking and saying, oh, I need to know who this girl is.
Yeah.
So that's really, well, at least for the beginning part of it, the more the song progresses in my mind, the more the character is like chill and laid back and cool, but in the back of my mind, the angrier I get, if that makes any sense. When I personally get angry, I have more fuel for my voice and more passion behind whatever I'm doing. So I always think of something or someone that makes me angry and get even angrier at them as I sing the song. So, and that when you listen to the song, like it'll come through. Or it should, hopefully.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. I got to be at the Open and I saw all y'all. I definitely noticed that you gave like such a great performance and it was like very dynamic throughout.
Thank you.
Y'all have, as a group, created a really clear identity and style. And I'm curious like how you worked this song into what you did with the rest of your set and all the other songs that you've done, how like you've advised yourselves in a specific direction.
We just had like we've been talking with our artist a lot recently about like starting to develop an actual artistic and visual identity and brand. So it's very interesting to go from we have no artistic visual brand or anything to, well, actually, you guys kind of sound kind of cohesive.
Yeah. Well, I think it seems like there was a distinct almost story to your set when you were at the finals. So how did this particular song kind of fit in that bigger picture for the set?
I think if you look at it from a holistic standpoint, you kind of have, you do have a beginning, a middle, and an end of sorts, at the very least. While the songs in their content, like their lyrical themes and everything, aren't necessarily too similar, there was that cohesive feeling of, okay, we're starting something with Bad Romantic, and like the audience can put themselves in the character's shoes and be out for the night for a second. And then everybody could relate to how sometimes it doesn't go as planned, so holding your breath happens, and either you're thinking back on it in a happy way, or, you know, maybe you're disappointed that things didn't go the way you planned, whatever it might be. And then Stars of Bethlehem kind of comes out and says, like, well, regardless, you know, there's enough passion to go around.
Yeah.
Like, whether that plan really didn't happen or whatever did actually end up happening, there's a meaning and a reason to go forward. And Eric in particular, with his performance of that song live, kind of takes it such that the character is the song, so to speak, is that meaning, like kind of really becomes, okay, if I'm going to be upset that something didn't go the way that I thought it would or something like that, then I'm going to put all of my energy into thinking about either the love that I do have or feel, or the things that I have to do going forward. There was just a certain urgency to it. You know?
So we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but in terms of just like the bigger picture, so Ember as a vocal band, I'm like curious where you are in the stage as a band and like what your goals are, because I think it's great of you to be doing these going to these competitions and performing, and to be making these singles and putting out music constantly. So what is like the bigger picture goal, so to speak?
Well, I think that, well, first of all, our group has grown way quicker than any of us could have imagined.
Like
honestly,
any of us.
Like, we were like, wait, we're doing all these things? What?
When?
Exactly. But I think we're still definitely in the very, very beginning stages of just being a group and feeling each other out. I mean, a lot of us in the group have known each other for a long time, but knowing each other, being in a group together is a totally different thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're definitely closer to it now, but figuring out how we vibe with each other, not just when we're on stage, but when we're like traveling and we're spending like hours and hours and hours together, and we see each other for like an entire weekend, you know, things like that.
Right.
I think our goal for the group is to bring a cappella professionally more into the forefront in Baltimore. And do a lot of outreach with schools in the area, and hopefully we can expand. Like, we did a concert at Hansel's old high school in Scotch Plains, and we helped their high school a cappella group, and that was amazing. And we also just want to, like Hansel said, he and Lisa's original vision was to create original music, and I think that's our main goal, to make original music in a cappella become a new standard.
Yeah. I think to piggyback off of that, because that was like pretty much it, a lot of it, at least for me, kind of comes from a let's do things that people haven't necessarily seen too often yet. I just like doing that. There's something about the excitement that comes with being totally like unbarred, I suppose, by anything, that just makes it super fun. So, you know, when we do record something, we do want to put it out as soon as we can, because we just feel like that's the most exciting way to do it, you know? Or we want to, like Lauren said, kind of build an outreach, build a community around vocal music here in our city. Because that's not necessarily something that we've seen too much of, at least from the professional a cappella groups around. So it would be really cool to like so to speak, like kind of have a name and an identity and a place for us in Baltimore, in our city, and also have that play its influence on the people that we're touching, the students, the administrators, the whoever that is actually letting us speak to them,
Yeah.
you know? And then just taking that idea as far as it can go in the a cappella community, outside of the a cappella community, whatever we can do that is exciting, fresh, and just generally like trying its best genuinely to think outside of the box. Like that's what we'll be trying to do.
Yeah. And it seems like you're doing that even beyond just the Baltimore area. Like you have been traveling a lot and performing everywhere. And I'm assuming a lot of that probably has to do with your management team. And I'm curious, like, how that process, like having a manager, has like gone for you.
So far, really, really good. It kind of makes sense why it's a stepping stone on the rung or the ladder of a band. You know, a band has to kind of get its own bearings under itself and have a community around itself. And then the next step is manager. And then that manager helps them figure out how to make money and be lucrative as a business, right? And then from there, the next step is a label, because then a label takes that money potential and that business potential and spreads it and distributes it as far as it can with marketing and promo and all that good stuff. And then from there, you have, you know, your other tiers of like corporate deals and sponsorships and all these other things. But once you're on like a good label, you kind of have the ability to take what you've created with management and really spread it around.
Right.
So that is to say, it's gone really well. We're really excited because it seems to be going the exact way that it should be, such that Andrew, who was our manager, just kind of took us under his wing and said, here are the things that made my other group successful. He was in Backtrack from New York for a long time. He was their manager and everything. He said, let's take the things that made that group successful and kind of fast track you guys using the things that I know now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just happened that way.
Have you, just out of curiosity, I'm like, have things, since getting a manager, have things kind of like stepped up a little bit? Because like, obviously you're all in Ember, but you all have your own lives. Like Lauren, you're in school right now, and I'm not sure the makeup of the rest of the group, but Hansel, I know you're working outside of this too. So you all have your things that are happening. So how has that kind of shifted with like the management role coming in?
Well, having Andrew as our manager has definitely provided us with more opportunities as far as gigs and things like the NACAs that we're going to do. We're also going to do the Mid-Atlantic NACA in Buffalo.
Yeah, in Buffalo in a couple weekends. And it's just really knowing how to manage your time well and schedule yourself accordingly. It's definitely a lot with school and things like that, but sometimes it's just about sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to school to be a professional performer, and this is a professional performing opportunity. So sometimes certain school things might have to take a back burner to things that Ember is doing, because in order to make this group successful, there needs to be a level of commitment from everyone and a level of sacrifice from everyone if we really want to make this as successful as it can be.
Andrew's also kind of, with that push, encouraged us to really make sure we're spreading out the work and delegating tasks such that everybody in the group is invested to some degree and has to invest time as well as their energy. And it's also cool because then you have little bouts of influence that come from every corner. Like Marcella planning our travel details means that like certain things just go differently. Like we have a better idea of when our flight is or whatever it might be.
Has management impacted y'all creatively in any way? Because you are doing a lot of gigs for all kinds of audiences. Like, do you feel compelled to like change the kind of music that you're making or to do something different or something more because of that?
Not necessarily. And the cool thing about getting management is that it has pushed us into this like professional entertainment kind of realm where we are able within the band to separate when we are entertainers and when we're being artists. And that is a big thing, because if we have this gig where we're going to perform in front of a bunch of these kids that only know like Despacito and Shape of You, then so be it, we'll do that because it'll give us, well, money, to be honest, but that money is itself power to actually, you know, put energy and time and money into our creations, our art. The more money we have, the less time we have to spend looking for gigs to pay for the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And it'll just kind of hopefully keep working itself out that way. We'll be able to know like when we're being a wedding band and when we have to hit the studio and like come up with something cool.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine going to something like NACA, you're kind of like seeing a lot of other things too. You're probably getting exposed to a lot more art, and like having the management means you're going to be going to more festivals and seeing more things, and you've already have done a ton. So we're actually nearing the end of our episode today, but one of the questions, our final questions we like to ask is what is currently exciting you in the acapella scene? And because y'all have been at so many things, I'm curious what certain things you've picked up on that you're like, oh, I love these trends or these things happening.
Sure. I think it's super duper cool that like at around the same time, a bunch of groups our age kind of showed up and popped out of the woodwork, which it was just like everyone at the same time, including us. And it's super duper cool. I think that that's really promising because we are all kind of connected in a way that hasn't really been the easiest for maybe the generation before us. We have the ability to not only communicate with each other all the time, but we can also influence and encourage one another all the time too.
Yeah.
So, you know, when one group does a music video that looks like X, like another group can do a music video that looks like 2X. You know what I'm saying? Like
3X, 4X.
And all of a sudden and 4X and 8X, like all of a sudden the ante is up, you know? That's super cool. And that's kind of something that I've seen in other communities that hasn't really hit acapella as hard yet, but now it might be happening where all these different bands start vying for the same market share or market space or even just space in the community. And at that point, you have to feed off of each other and really start doing some cool things to stand out.
Yeah.
And that's just going to happen naturally. So that to me is super duper exciting.
Lauren, do you have anything to add to that too?
Basically the same way. Like, it's really cool to see people, even that are new to acapella and even that aren't new to acapella, creating new groups and doing new things and trying new things and rebranding themselves. It's just, I feel like Hansel said, around this time, for some reason, like, everyone had a fire under their butts to, like,
Get her going, you know?
Right, exactly. Get going and, like, be creative and flow. And I think that'll just be a great atmosphere for creating new and exciting things in acapella and in music in general.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all we really want to do is like inspire somebody. You know, if it's in or out of acapella, it doesn't really matter. But like if somebody in acapella goes, hey, that's cool, they put out an original single and it sounds like not doo-doo. Like, I kind of want to go do that. Then that would be really cool. You know, that's legacy. That's an artist's impact. And that's like the whole point, at least to me, of doing art. So yeah, what Lauren said on top of what I said, like, this is cool. I hope that it keeps going this way and we get competitive and, you know, like maybe we could start some rivalries and like get some diss tracks going. Maybe not necessarily that over the top, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be really, really dope.
We'll start some beef.
I don't know. Yeah, let's start some beef.
some
What's
beef.
up? Like, I've been dying to make some kind of beatbox, acapella, rap, diss track, whatever. Give me the excuse. Let's go.
Well, there's time. And our last question for you. What's next on the plate for each of you and for Ember?
Well, for me personally, for my life, what's next for me is just finishing school and getting my degree. Yes, pretty much all I'm focused on in my life personally right now. And as far as Ember, just making new music. I'm trying my hand in writing music. So
And it's going really well. She's got a knack for it. It's really dope.
So hopefully that'll come out in this short amount of time. Well, not short, but you know what I mean. So yeah, just doing new things with Ember, traveling places, meeting new people. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I don't know, man. I just want to keep writing. In Ember and otherwise. I have 3 separate releases of my own planned that I'm not going to say anything about yet. But now you guys know that it's happening. And I have to now make it because I spoke it into the universe. But I'm doing that. I'm starting a relationship with a certain music collective out in LA that I want to really, really buckle down, solidify, and hopefully get some kind of pub deal with in terms of writing and producing. A couple of artists that I've worked with that have stuff coming out, and then just keep pushing the envelope with Ember. Like, on top of all that, like as long as I always have this avenue of, okay, we have the potential to put something out that people care about and that people think are cool, like I'll always have this to fall back on if everything else isn't working. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's cool
Definitely.
for me.
Well, it looks like y'all both have a lot coming up for you, which is super exciting. And also, you didn't mention this, but you'll be at So Jam performing this year, which is really, really awesome. So we're super stoked to hear you then. Thank you both for joining us. We're going to play Bad Romantic as the outro. And listeners, we hope you enjoy. But thank you, Hansel and Lauren, for joining us today. And we hope you join us next week for a new episode of Head Voice.
Thank you guys for having us. This was awesome.
Ooh, look at the time. You've been watching me all night, waiting for your moment to be right. It's in the back of your mind. I've been reading all your signs. What you want ain't nothing more than what you like. So lay it out for me, baby. Let me know where you wanna go. Is it bad for me? Maybe, but I'll be damned if I never know. So I'm in, I'm vacated, and I'm feeling like breaking habits. No, it ain't nothing too drastic. We ain't got nothing better to do, so let's move to the magic. It ain't gotta be so dramatic. And you're messing with the classic, the original bad romantic, romantic. Yeah, ooh, look at the time. You've been watching me all night, waiting for your moment to be right. It's in the back of your mind. I've been reading all your signs. What you want ain't nothing more than what you like. So lay it out for me, baby. Let me know where you wanna go. Is it bad for me? Maybe, but I'll be damned if I never know. So I'm backhanded, and I'm feeling like breaking habits. No, it ain't nothing too drastic. We ain't got nothing better to do, so let's move to the magic. It ain't gotta be so dramatic. Yeah, you're messing with the classic, the original bad romantic. You gotta know just what you want and get it, baby. Just let it. You gotta know just what you're after if you wanna entertain me, honey. You say you're in, well I'm in it too, and I can't wait for you to make up your mind. You don't want it, you don't have it. Ooh, baby, you don't got it, you don't want it, you don't have it. And I can't wait for you to make up your mind. Yeah, yeah. No more thinking about our future if your presence right here. You've got a lot to say for someone so insincere, but I got nothing to lose. So try me, baby. Try me. So I'm vacated, and I'm feeling like breaking habits. No, it ain't nothing too drastic. We ain't got nothing better to do, so let's move to the magic. It ain't gotta be so dramatic. And you're messing with the classic, the original bad romantic. So I'm in. You don't got it, you don't want it. No, you don't got it, baby, no. You think you know it, baby, but you don't know, no.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Head Voice. I'm still here, I'm still around, but a big round of applause for Mr. Anthony Polito for his first episode!
I'll give myself a round of
Oh,
applause.
yeah.
I think you did great. I just sat in the back and observed, and I think it was tremendous. How did you feel it went?
I thought it went pretty well, especially because Ember is super awesome. They're doing so many really cool things. They had a great performance at the open. The single is awesome. I was actually a little bit tired going into it from dancing to it with Kayla. And we're going to be able to see them at So Jam.
Yeah. Honestly, it's crazy to me that they only started in December and they've done so much already. And I'm excited to see what else they do.
Yeah. I'm really stoked to have this different format what we're doing at Premiere, I think is super exciting. So if you like this format, let us know if you want to see other types of different stuff. We're getting crazy this year, so let us know. And if you like what you hear, it helps us a lot to leave a review on iTunes and follow us on whatever platform that you're using to listen to the episodes.
Yeah.
Cheers.